lines of just, talking about the past, talking about where you're going in the future with your music, because someone like you, I hope you don't take this as me blowing smoke up your ass, but it's like someone like you has always been very well respected in the local scene. And I've always appreciated you. I mean, it's been one of those things where your first band, Francine, was a band I actually followed quite often. Like, if I seen that you were on a show, oh, yeah. This is the part that'll make you laugh. I have actual fucking locations and dates.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Were one of those an Ashland Fishing Game?
No, it wasn't an Ashland Fishing Game, but I definitely want to hear a story about Ashland Fishing Game if that just came first to your mind.
The ICC. I was actually just talking to Brian Marquis. You know Brian Marquis from There For I Am?
Yes.
Talking to him about like ICC shows in Alston.
Yep.
And then QVCC shows in Worcester.
Yeah, where your CD release was.
Yeah, those were the shows.
Those were the shows, man.
Good memory.
I do. So, like, it was one of those things of, I think the reason why I've always kind of stuck in contact with you throughout the years, just randomly pop in and out. I mean, we were never close, you know what I mean? But I always came to watch your band, and you always put time aside to talk to me at the shows. And it was very rewarding to know that the people that you really respected watching their music weren't assholes.
Oh, so, yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people just have this, like, crazy ego, and you talked to me for like a good hour and 15 minutes after a show at the living room, and you
you're like, all right, dude, stop talking to me.
No, you literally were like, actually, I gotta go to a party, and that's my ride right there. So, and I was like, no, by all means. Like, you just spent fucking way too much time with me.
Exactly.
Anyway, You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, of course. I feel like, I don't know, I look back, like, I never like wanted to be in a band to like be famous or be well liked or be like traveling the country. I think maybe that's part of it. Like when I first was exposed to music, obviously I grew up on an island, Trinidad, and the music's very different. You're talking about calypso, steel pan, reggae, whatever. Right. So when I can hear, I'm the awkward kid. I'm the one that, I have a single mom. She's like super poor. I'm wearing clothes from Walmart and Payless Shaquille O'Neal sneakers and whatever. And then, I was always an outsider, and then I fell madly in love when I was 14 years old with Oasis, like obsessed, didn't know what the sound was, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but if I could just emulate that, if I could be that, I would be cool. You know what I mean? I just wanted to feel not cool to anybody else, but just in my own skin, like not like I was an alien on a weird planet. And like I started playing guitar. My mom got me this cheap Cort Les Paul. I played the hell out of it. I played music, and I just was like trying to emulate being Liam Gallagher and Noel Gallagher, you know what I mean? And by doing that, by accident, I ended up being in a band. By accident, the band ended up being like good. By accident, we ended up going on tour. Like none of it was ever like this master plan where I was like, yeah, and then I'm gonna tour. And then, so whenever I got to meet people that like were cool, like genuinely cool, like you, it's always been awesome for me, because that's to me like how I see myself. And inversely, anytime I've met a band that wasn't cool, Jimmy Eat World, it's always been like, damn, you guys suck.
Oh, no way, really?
Jimmy Eat World, sucks.
Just that's
meanest, like not nice. I don't know. Somebody will hear this and they'll be like, dude, like I've toured with Jimmy Eat World, and they're gonna DM me. They're like, dude, I've toured with Jimmy Eat World, and they're the nicest guys ever, and I'm gonna get burned. But yeah, Jimmy Eat World, yeah.
No, it's all about being honest, man. And if people can't take honesty, if they don't get upset about seeing like maybe that they were ignorant at the time, you know what I mean, or just being a dick, then they haven't grown as a person. That's how I look at it. Like if you get offended by something, it's like, whoa, look where I'm coming from. I met you at this point in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that does suck. Like I said, like talking to you and coming up to you at the end of the show, because like sometimes you do get people that are just overbearing at a local show. I mean, no, your eyes just lit up.
Yeah, you're like, yeah. I had somebody come up to me one time I played a show in North Carolina. I was on tour with Francine, I think. Yeah, with Francine, and we were on a tour with Vanna. Yeah, and we were down on the East Coast in the southern East Coast, went all the way down to like Georgia, and we were in North Carolina or something like that. And I remember some kid coming up to me and like being like, two kids, and one kid was like, hey man, you spit on my friend. So like my immediate response, like, dude, I'm so sorry, oh my gosh. And then his friend looks at me, he's like, no, man, I liked it. And like, but dead serious. And I was like, yo, this is like, what's happening? I'm scared. Sometimes you get people that are just like, they kind of freak you out. But for the most part, everyone's like super cool. Like, I mean, most people I feel like that go to shows love music in a multitude of ways. Like they might, fiddle with a guitar, they might sing in their shower, but like everyone's a rock and roller at heart. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. And it's definitely the one thing that always brings us to, ooh, I hear kitty. Here, let me open up the cooler and snag one. Let's see.
I've been waiting all day to drink this beer. Thank you for this. The first one I'm going to be drinking. Because is it beers and brews or brews and bands?
Bands, brews, and BS.
So sorry. Oh,
it's BS. Okay. It's okay. So we just sit around and bullshit.
The band is MOBCANDY.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Hi. That's me.
So I want to know more about MOBCANDY, man, because I mean, I have it playing in the background right now on stream. I mean, I'm sure, I don't think you can hear it, but
Shackles off.
Yeah.
Yeah, MOBCANDY is a band that again started by accident. I had left Francine and I became very disillusioned with music. Every show in the scene got like to be, it ended in like one of three ways, like a huge fight, a huge party with a lot of drugs and alcohol, or like just traveling to another place, like, the end of the night and, you're scrounging for food because it's like 11 and you've exhausted from loadout in some random place. Like, not that that's bad, like tour is cool, but like you start to miss normal things like your family or whatever. Oh, yeah. And even when you're home, at some point after Francine, like we had toured the US like 3 times, and like we got fortunate enough to have bands like Vanna or Therefore I Am, like Big Brother Us, and give us a lot of exposure. And it got to the point even when we'd be back home, I'd go to a movie theater, somebody'd stop me in line, and like for me, I got very disillusioned with it. Like I told you, I never meant to be like, I never had a plan to be very well liked or famous or be in a band that was popular. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was going to be some fun project, honestly. So at some point I just got burnt out on all of it. I didn't want to do drugs or alcohol anymore. I got sick of being drunk. I got sick of getting to fights or seeing my bandmates get into fights. Like I got sick of touring and not being around my family. And so yeah, I just stopped. I stopped playing music. I just stopped playing guitar, and I like just hid out, and I just like educated myself on a bunch of different stuff. And I started a band called Sounds Like Funeral Music. I don't know if you ever heard of that band.
I did. That was with Brandon.
He did some guest stuff on it. It was a weird project that like I had. It was really my project. Nobody else was necessarily permanently attached to it, but they sessioned out it. Brandon was one of the people. And it was cool, but it was like a tongue-in-cheek thing. It was like, people were like, what does the band sound like? I'm like, I don't know, funeral music, because I was really just depressed for 5 years, you know what I mean? Like, okay. On this high, and then quite literally high, and then just not. And then finally, like, I was like, whatever, like, I'm not depressed anymore. I'm not in funeral music. And then one day, somebody had messaged me, the wife of my now drummer in MOBCANDY. So MOBCANDY now, it started off really with myself and my drummer, Todd. His wife messaged me. She's like, hey, you used to share a practice space with me and my husband like 10 years ago when you were in Francine. I don't even know if you remember us. He still plays drums. I don't know if you're doing anything, but you should check him out. And I swear to you, I was like, this is a waste of my time. And I was like, but I needed somewhere to ride my motorcycle to. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Give me your address. I was like, I'll just ride my motorcycle there. I'll like have a pint. What's the worst it can do? And I went into his basement, and he had a full studio set up. He'd been producing for like 15 years, and showed me some of his drum takes. He had like 103 drum takes, and I was like, yo, holy shit, this guy like works. And then I was like, all right, whatever. Then I was intrigued. So he has this 1973 Fender Rhodes, like Stevie Wonder keyboard, right? Mm-hmm. And I just sit down to it, and I'm like, I mean, sure, what do you think about this? And I sit down, and it goes, boom, bop, 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 boom, bop, got me running circles all in my head. And he's like, I think I can play drums to that. And then look, the rest is kind of history. So it's a band that's, again, like accidentally developed and formed. We have a guy that, his name's Nick Tebow, old friend of mine, family friend of mine, that plays guitar now. and he went to he's a genius, went to music school, like Berkeley, like UCal, all that fun stuff for music. So he's very technically gifted. And my bassist, Dan Roth, who's been in a bunch of bands like Teamwork, and he's done session work for like A Lost Word, stuff like that. And yeah, we're working on our third record now. And then we plan on touring as soon as the world is go back to normal. We had a UK tour planned beforehand and an East Coast tour planned. So hopefully sometime this winter, you'll see us on either East Coast or UK, given that, everyone gets their vaccine and doesn't think it's a microchip from Bill Gates.
Yeah, as long as you don't have Alex Jones popping in anywhere and anybody taking advice, you know what I mean? So let's go back to your past still. You said you were a huge Oasis fan. So is that where Francine came out of? Is that because
no.
Francine was my local mix of taking two bands that I really appreciated and putting them together, which was like Silver Sun Pickups and Circa Survive.
Wow. I've heard one song by Silver Sun Pickups. They sing that song, I've Been Waiting. That's them, right?
Yes.
I only know that song by them, and it's sick. And their guitars sound sick.
Yes.
I don't know who produced that record, but I want to work with that producer. So that's a huge compliment. I've only heard that one song, but that's huge. That makes me want to listen to that band more. But Circa is huge. I've actually met Anthony like a number of times now, like years later. And I'd heard that compliment, or comparison, which is obviously a compliment, tons of times. But and I could see that, but no. So for me, my guitar has always been it's been like British industrial rock mixed with blues, mixed with punk. Honestly, to me, Francine was always meant to be this punk band, but with R&B ish singing that was modern at the time. Taking Back Sunday, Adam Lazzara has always been a huge influence to me, but I always look to female vocalists a lot, which is actually why I sing in falsetto. I get compared to people like Anthony Green or Claudio from Coheed and Cambria. For years. They'd be like, oh, these must be your influences. And I'm like, actually Billie Holiday or Nina Persson from the Cardigans. I really love female vocalists. So
me too.
So yeah, it was very accidental, and I'm sure some of that was by osmosis. We start to play shows with, we're opening for, Circa, we're opening for, whatever band, and it starts to rub off a little bit. As Tall as Lions is another band a while that
really.
Oh, dude, I listened to them for 2 years, and we got to play a show with them. We opened for them at college in Boston, Northeastern.
Okay.
We got to open for them. I got to sing Love, Love, Love with them. I don't know if you remember that song.
Yes, I do remember that song.
I was holy shit, one of the best. I'm sharing a mic with Julio, their bassist, looking at their singer, singing Love. And I think something's happened by Oasis, but no, we started off as a band that was supposed to be a girl singer with a punk-ish guitars, like Blood Brothers. The Blood Brothers is another band that was huge for me. When it comes as a guitarist, right?
Okay.
Which is ironic because I don't really sound like I'm in the Blood Brothers, but if you listen to me technically, I'm not a clean playing guitarist. It's kind of sharp and,
twangy,
distorted. And yeah, it's even my amp, I play orange amplifiers because of the Blood Brothers. I still watch their DVD from 2008 once every 6 months. So I mean, again, that's the thing too. Perception is everything, because my intention was one thing. What everybody else heard on stage or in the crowd rather was completely different, So
do you remember constantly warming up to Beautiful Girls by Sean Kingston? Because I remember you going through a phase. I think it was 5 times total I seen you live, and I was like, this must be his jam or something, because he just starts warming up right at mic check with it.
It's funny, I remember that song. There were 2 songs, that song and Move Your Feet by Junior Senior.
Okay, yep.
Sample of a Michael Jackson song, I think, a Jackson 5 song, I'm sorry. And those 2 really I like songs that help me open up, instead of just the typical, mommy, baby, songs that make me be diverse with my vocals, and they're quick, but that was a bop. That was a classic. So I do remember that, oddly enough. I do remember that. You have a great memory.
I have, so it's really weird. I have a good memory for certain stuff. So I don't know if you, so you didn't get to see the In Spirit one probably all the way through or at all. It's on the YouTube, but you can watch it, and you see Sean and Evan's face light up because I talk about a show that I booked. It was my second show ever. Okay, I was all excited, and of course, some piece of shit starts a fight with Evan, like their first song in, and Evan knocked him out, and we had to throw him out of the building.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Evan's a real dude.
Oh, dude, he is after.
Evan's like a real, like, the thing about Evan too, it's just kind of cool. I hope Evan sees this eventually, and he's just like, but like Evan's like a real dude, like he's trained.
Exactly, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, he had like the skin tight girl pants, and like, and he had like the swoop and everything, and he like almost looked like he wore makeup because he's so beautiful. He's like just a naturally pretty man. But like Evan will like karate kick the shit out of you. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We were laughing so hard because I remember distinctly this girl that was so like Hot Topic, hipstered out, like scenester, tried to the poofy hair, you know what I mean, the whole tease thing. I remember her saying, "Holy shit, the hot emo guy knocked him out." And I said it live while we were talking, and Evan just started dying laughing. He's like, "All right, I'll take that." You know, Sean was like, "I've watched him squash some shit so many times." You know what I mean?
He's a piece. He's always been the kind, like, peacemaking one, like the one that's cool to everybody. Sean too, to that effect. Like, it was Evan, but like, yeah, I've twice actually. I've seen Evan like somebody take it too far, and Evan like just like ninja, like out of nowhere. You're just like, what the hell just happened? And he just backflips, kicks, and then that person's knocked out, and you're like, dude, that's
so great. It's like John Wick being an In Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
That's
He's
so
ninja.
Great.
He is a ninja. Yeah, he is. He's a man.
So, who were some? So you played in the local scene, and it must have been completely different for you because of the genre of music you played. You played a genre of music that was not fucking metalcore. It wasn't emo, pop punk, sad boy music. It was.
I don't know what it is.
It was like this really cool new wave indie in the sense that it didn't have all that like electronic shit that like to mask the song. It was like your drummer even played cool. Like when you were in Francine, your drummer played like T-Rex arms and shit.
He had this old jazz style where he would play straight instead of playing over. So he would actually play, or underhanded rather.
Yeah.
So he had a very jazz style about him. And then like there were a couple songs where like that was kind of that band too that was cool because we were so odd. We were such the odd man out already that it kind of made us. It's not like we had to like bring a mosh pit or whatever. You know what I mean? Like we were like, oh, well, people are gonna think we're weird anyways. So we'd be in like rehearsal, and I'd just say like, hey, use a maraca on that part, and it'd be like, all right, sure. Or like we'd say like, let's make this part clean, or whatever. So it's funny that you say that because that's one of the things that kind of helped us as a band because when we first got into the scene, it became obvious to us that we were the weird ones. We were very different, like and which is fine because what's cool about that is the bands that booked us typically, or we shared tours with, or the promoters that booked us were cool with that. They were like embracing to us. So we would go to these places. You have to remember too, we're from Connecticut. Like we went to high school in Connecticut. So we started in a garage in Connecticut playing this weird music. We didn't even know what it was. And then all of a sudden we got booked on shows throughout New England. So, we're not from Massachusetts. We're not from New Hampshire or Maine. We're playing shows there. So we were just like, oh man, people are going to like think we're so weird and hate us. And it was so cool to be embraced in that scene. It was actually, at first it was kind of intimidating, but like the longer we were in it, the more like secure that we felt because of how much support we got. And a lot of that was from like fellow bands. Like, I mean, Brandon, like, one of my best friends now, but he was one of the biggest supporters of those bands, of me as a musician in general for years. All of those guys were like, all the Vanna guys, like really, like we lucked out. So what went from being the odd man out went to being something that was favorable because it allowed us to be very expressive and take risks as musicians without feeling like, shit, we gotta write a mosh part or a breakdown or whatever,
I just like the fact that you were so you didn't, like you said, you didn't bend the knee. There was no pandering to one side or the other. You wrote what you wanted to write. And to be honest, it was really cool to see people's response to it, because you guys were always thrown on shows. I mean, you played 08 in the Palladium, and there were a bunch of heavy bands. There was like the Jonah Vale, I think.
Yeah, we toured too.
Did you really? So this is why I need this is why I'm doing this show, because like people remember certain shows and I remember certain things. So like I went to shows without friends. I'd take the fucking Amtrak. Like I was in bands. I was in one band that was popular in the scene, and then I was in a bunch of other bands that were not as popular. So I was a substitute bass player for 13 Yards to Victory for a while, and that was the only band that really had like a big following, because they went on tour all the time, did all that stuff. And then I left, and I ended up adulting and going to college and all that miserable bullshit. You know what I mean? Yeah, to pay for stuff, so that this way I could, you know, do shit like this in my spare time as an adult, and just be like, oh, I'm just gonna do a podcast about the local scene. But you guys played, like I said, like in amongst metal bands, and it wasn't like this thing where it fucked up the vibe of the show. That was the cool part to me.
Yeah, strangely enough, which is cool, because I always thought that's like how it should be. Like, why would you want to go to a show and hear like 5 of the same band to varying degrees?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, as much as I love like Lamb of God, I wouldn't want to go to a Lamb of God show and like see kind of sort of Lamb of God open up for them. Or like whatever band it was, Coldplay. Like, I don't need to see Coldplay with 3 different Coldplays. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. That's why like my favorite band. excuse me. My favorite band that's famous since I was 13 till still now is Coheed and Cambria. I've seen them every single time they've come to town. I've never missed a show.
His brother's band.
What was that?
I opened for his brother's band.
3?
Yeah.
Really? I love 3.
Yeah, we opened for them at the ICC. 3.
So tell me about that. Tell me about that show.
It was weird because it's the only show at the ICC I've ever played, and I must have played half a dozen shows at the ICC over the years.
I miss that fucking place.
Yeah, it was rad. The shows there now would just be illegal. Like, it wouldn't happen. Just remember like a sea of people like moshing and jumping off of a stage.
The sweat coming off the ceiling and the fire marshal being like, I don't see shit. Like,
yeah, just everyone drunk, like nobody being actually old enough to drink. Like, it was just wild. And I remember playing a show there, and that was the only show that wasn't on the stage, was in front of the stage, which was so strange, but it was so good. And that guy is so talented. Like, you can see how they're related. Mm-hmm. But so cool. Same thing with Jonah Vale too. I remember that time period. I remember we were on tour with the Jonah Vale. I also remember shoplifting a 30 rack of beer in where was it? Georgia. It was like a dare thing. I remember being in the van with Vanna, and I remember texting Pat from the Jonah Vale, and like we making a bet, being like, dude, I bet you I can steal a 30 rack from this gas station. And then I shoplifted it and didn't get caught. And then I remember pounding down that beer in the hottest traffic.
Oh God.
It was in the South, and it was like April, and it was like hot.
I did that once with 13. We were in Valdosta, Georgia.
Oh, God,
and it was fucking miserable. And we gave the hotel a sob story, which was true though, because we were broke as shit. But we had the van and trailer and all that. And I literally went in the front office and was like, "Listen, miss, like we have $100 amongst 8 of us because we were with another band. You know, like that's all we've got." And she was like, "Well, we have a suite and it's never used, so I mean, $100 is better than not being rented at all, right?"
True. Yeah.
And it had an in-ground pool. We stayed in the pool. We were 18. We went and bought beer. Like one of us had a fake ID.
When you're that age and like you're just living the dream.
Oh yeah.
Corner of the floor with like a sleeping bag, and I mean that's kind of what you want to a degree. Like I feel like if I could go back and do it again, and somebody was like, "Yeah, but instead you're not going to sleep in the van and drive all hours of the night and wonder what you're going to eat the next day," I'd be like, yeah, but that's kind of like part of the fun. There was just adventure about it. You know what I mean?
So much adventure, because then you found out the good and shitty fast food places, like finding out the best gas stations, Wawa. Like, and then coming back to Massachusetts and telling people about Wawa, and people are like, get the fuck out of here. 24 hours and you get a sub?
Oh,
yeah, dude.
North Carolina Cookout. You ever been to Cookout?
Yes.
Fire too. Yeah.
Bojangles. Oh my God. You know what I mean?
Spots.
Like, prior to like an iPhone, the cool thing to have was like a Sidekick or a BlackBerry. You know what I mean? So like,
I was always envious. Evan had one, and I remember being on tour with Vanna in that same tour where I stole a 30 rack of beer. And I remember like sitting next to him, watching him flip it open, and him and Brandon, actually. Brandon also had a Sidekick, and then me being just like, damn. And I had a Motorola Razor, and I was like, I suck. Slow ass texting, yeah. So
they were over there going on MySpace and shit, and you're over there just texting.
I remember asking Brandon to use his Sidekick just so I could use it, just because I wanted to use one, and him being like, all right, and like he'd give it to me like for like 18 minutes out of the day, and I'd feel so awesome, and then he'd be like, all right, give me back my phone. Like, so awesome.
Yeah, I know. Talk about like, you know how you said like doing it all over again and not having to sleep in the hotel and everything. All I can think of is how Brandon's like this fucking whiz, and he made he like does the vans now. So now you could be like touring in baller status, just having like Wi-Fi and a fucking flat screen with a bed.
Yeah, that's actually it's so funny that you say that, because for our tour we are renting one of those vans.
Are you really?
Yeah, we'll be renting one of those and then doing a trailer as well. So it'll be actually kind of cool, because it won't be like 15 passenger van with like the bench seats and like it's. 7 dudes and one random girlfriend who just like couldn't take a no for an answer.
Exactly.
So that's how it always was.
That's how it always works. I'll never forget back in the day. They were a famous I won't put them on the spot, but they were a famous pop punk band. They ended up becoming pretty famous, and they broke up. And they had their girlfriend. What was that?
The Starting Line?
No, not the Starting Line. They played locally, and their girlfriend came, and then all of a sudden there was this drama, and apparently like the girlfriend was sleeping with the guitarist, but she was actually the bassist's girlfriend. And it was while like in load in and load out, like they'd get it in real quick before it would, and it's like,
you can tell
what the fuck?
No, just say it.
Nah, I don't want to. I don't want to do that because I'm interviewing them in the near future.
Wait, who was it?
I'm interviewing them in the near future, so it's like
so the next interview, that's who it is.
No, it's not a lost words. It's not a nice fucking try. It's not a lost words. it's known for lost words. But so what was it like? So I want to still start at Francine. What was it like coming into the scene? So how were you introduced to the scene? This is what like not a lot of people understand, because when I say that there's no scene now, not because of COVID, but because prior to COVID, I didn't see the youth anymore continuing what everybody left off. You know what I mean? No one was fucking interested anymore because
they don't have the drive. They don't have that DIY.
Not even close, dude. If it's not a Facebook like or an Instagram like or fucking something easy like that, or like a TikTok, no one's interested.
Setting up a show and booking bands and emailing people and dealing with money.
Paying people out of my own pocket, booking a show.
Yeah, right? They wouldn't do that. But how we were introduced into the scene, man, that's a great question. I don't know. It just like seemed like one day we were playing every VFW known to man, and we played a show with a band that had Brandon and Jim from Therefore I Am in it. I don't remember the name of the band. It was like years ago. So
it was before Therefore I Am.
For sure. It was before Therefore I Am. Okay. And it was in the basement of a restaurant on Route 9 in Shrewsbury. Some Asian restaurant.
You're telling me I have a good memory? You just, what the fuck?
No, like that's not a good thing. I only remember it because I remember seeing Brandon, who I didn't know who he was at the time. I remember seeing a black dude with a guitar, a PRS guitar and an afro. And I was like one of the only black dudes in the scene at all. So to see somebody else, I was like, oh my God, there's another one? Like, there's another black person. Oh my gosh. So that was like amazing to me too. I was like, whoa, so cool. And then I remember how entrancing he was to look at. And I remember thinking like, this dude listens to at the drive-in in the Mars Volta, because he was doing like, Cedric. Have you ever seen at the drive-in or the Mars Volta, Cedric, their guitarist?
Yes.
He's just crazy, right? He's like this energy about him live where you're just like, he's out of his mind. You don't know what he's doing. And he was totally like biting that a bit, but I was like, all right, this is fresh. And I remember becoming friendly with him and Jim. That band quickly transitioned into Therefore I Am. We stayed friends. And then there was a few shows between us and playing house shows with a band called Morris. You remember Morris?
I do remember Morris.
We had friends in that band, Timmy Brothers, their singer, their bassist, Rich Davis, their guitarist, and another singer, Pat Bloomfield, their drummer, Pat Murphy, who now plays in a band called The Oracle, who was like a huge band. You should interview them. They're sick.
Oh, I'd love to. The Oracle. You write that down.
Black metal band. He's an amazing drummer. So I remember like it was like this little circuit. It was us, Therefore I Am, Morris, and Francine, and we'd play these garage shows in Uxbridge, Mass. In Morris's, like Timmy Brothers' mom's, his parents had a house in Uxbridge, like nice ritzy Uxbridge, and have like 150 kids packed into a garage, and then we go.
Shit.
Yeah, it was wild. Just stuff like when you look back at it, you're like, I would never let anybody do that. Like,
no fucking way.
Pull that off. And then between that and VFWs, and then all of a sudden there was like every show went from like 30 people to 50 people to 70 to like 150 to like 250 people a show. Okay. And then like the VFWs and the garage shows became like it was like a burnout because it just like. It was too crazy, too hard to handle. The cops can handle it. The local people can handle it. The parents can handle it. Mm-hmm. So that's when we were upgraded to like ICC shows, QVCC shows, and we started touring. And so it was like very like, for lack of a better term, organic, the transition. Okay. It was like one day we were playing our first show, feeling like the odd man out. The next day we'd made friends with a few bands that appreciated that we were so different and we're trying to bite the same style as everyone. The next day we had like people that we became friends with, like you know what I mean? And they became the 150, 200 people that came to every show. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know from that, every show is like, it got to a point where it was crazy. Like every show was just crazy. And then we started touring and it became like that, especially more so in the latter years. So it just developed over time, yeah.
So the one thing I do remember is back during that time, it was really nice to meet the people that went to a lot of your shows. Like you said, it evolved to that 150, 200 people that were regulars, and you would see them all the time at the show and things like that. But everyone was really friendly at your shows.
Friendly?
Yeah, friendly. Like, they would introduce themselves. Like, I am absolutely... So my job entails with working with a lot of people and a lot of names. I work in the healthcare field, so it's just a constant shift and change and things like that. But
we appreciate you, by the way.
Thanks, buddy.
Over the last year, so thank you for all that you do, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thanks, Cerulean. So with his people in the chat, there was a brand new fall Wild Philomel sings. There's some people that
for this?
Yes, there is. So that's why it's cool. So like as people roll in throughout the show, I'll bring up questions if people have questions that show up in chat, so things like that. Sean actually hijacked it on the last episode because he was like, "There's a chat. Wait a minute."
Yeah, so I did not know there's a chat. That's so rad.
But so you got introduced into the scene, and it turned into this family. You know what I mean? So tell me a little bit more about like what it was like in the relationships you had with people like Therefore I Am and, eventually Vanna and things like that. So the people you form relationships with, was it just because of coincidence of the music scene, or was it through the game of telephone, through friends, or was it, that's how I'm always interested, is how did people, 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon, whatever that fucking game is, where you like figure out how people met and knew each other. You know what I mean? Because I find it fascinating. Brandon knows fucking everybody in the world.
Worker.
You know what I mean?
It happened like because everybody like wanted to. I think everybody just wanted to have like. It was a lot more of like a party atmosphere than it was like a show atmosphere.
Yes.
And I don't think that was. I don't think the bands wanted to feel any different than that. Like, I think both the audience and the bands at some point, like, it spilled over into, like, it always spilled, like you just said, like at the living room, you're like, oh, this person's my ride, I'm going to a party. That became like very atypical. Like, it was always like a huge party after the huge show or whatever. There was always like, so I think that we always appreciated that community. Like, it's called like the scene or whatever, but I guess that's a synonym for community, right? Like,
right.
We were always appreciative of that because there was always somebody who was a friend of somebody that lived in some state that you could stay at their couch or whatever. When we couldn't afford the $100 for a motel, that's what we did. Like, we'd be like, all right, what state are we in? Who do we know in the state? Who do we know that's friends? You know what I'm saying? So we were very appreciative, vice versa. Just like I think some people went to the shows and they were very appreciative of having that experience of like not just watching Jimmy Eat World and then having them be douchebags to you. You know what I mean? Like, we would like, have a drink with you and like talk with you. So
exactly.
I think it's developed over time this appreciation that works both ways. If I get DM'd by Jimmy Eat World and like it's like a fight, it started here. I just want you to know.
I got your back. It's fine.
Imagine they DM me, like, that'd be crazy. Like, not even like any individual in the band, like just their like account.
Their band account?
Like, fuck you, dude. Can I swear on this?
Oh, of course you can swear on this. Of course you can swear on this. It's fine. It's fine. So,
the question, like, it was always a back and forth appreciation for the community of it.
And I think that's kind of what's missing today. You know what I mean? I think that, like, so one of the main focal points of this podcast too is to sort of maybe get New England to jumpstart a little bit more and help small businesses. So right now I'm working with the brewery that you actually are drinking right now. On a music and beer festival. So that would be something, yes, Kettlehead Brewing right there. That would be something that I would ask MOBCANDY to be on, obviously. But I really want to do a festival that focuses on people that have a small business that want to come and set up. They want to do their thing, We'll do small fee and they keep all the profit from their table. You know what I mean? I'm looking to help. Everyone loves Barstool. Dave Portnoy does enough. I want to help our local music and art scene because I wasn't big in it, but it affected me to the point where I said to In Spirit when they were on the last episode, I said, I think you were the chaotic normal we needed so we didn't end up more fucked up than we already are. You know what I mean? Because the world is pretty cruel and unkind, and when you can find some people that help you get through it, you get one life to live, you get this group together, and then all of a sudden all the bullshit goes away. You know what I mean? You get all these people that have the same mindset, or they share the same music taste or the same art, or they just want to be friends because you're a good friend. You know what I mean? So, and that's how I felt about you. You were just a good person to be a good person. You weren't looking for something out of it. There was no, you know what I mean? So what are some favorite shows and venues to date that you've played? You mentioned touring across the US, touring with the Jonavale, touring with Vanna. What are some venues that really, like, venues and shows that really stuck out to you, that really make you proud?
They're always, like, local ones, to be honest. Like, I never...
That's okay.
Like, for me, like, I mean, I don't know. To me, like, nothing beats, like, a QVCC or, like, an ICC show. I mean, like, we played the Palladium, but it always felt like, even, like, being on that stage, like, didn't feel like our home. It just felt like a place to play. Like, Living Room in Rhode Island was gnarly too, because like there was a while like where we played that room and it was like this weird box. It was like, it was so strange when you were in there, and you were kind of like trapped
with that like pole in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking pole in the middle of the stage.
It's so cool because I saw so many bands there, and I felt like it was like I was right there. Like, I didn't feel completely removed. Venues like the Palladium and stuff like that, I always felt like you were removed, like from the crowd, and they were removed from you. But like we played like, and I played like Jersey and Asbury Park and all those places, but I always felt like so foreign to me. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would say like the venues like in our backyard, like QVCC, ICC, those are like our spots for sure.
So what do you know? So no one really knows. I'm sure someone does, but no one really knows what happened to the Alston ICC. I mean, obviously it was a fucking death trap, like Whitesnake style, or whoever that Worcester band was. No, it's been long enough. We can make that joke. You know what I mean? But Uh, but what happened? Like, was it just shut down because of the complaints and everything? Because I remember it abutting a bunch of fucking houses and shows going way later than they were supposed to.
Yeah, I'm assuming because like the majority of those venues, like the fire code, like I feel like, you know, there's just no way it would happen now. Like some of those venues must have been like 300 cap, like 350 person cap or whatever. And there was like easily like, I don't know, dude, like 800, 900 people at some
Okay,
of those
thank
shows.
you. I was going to say that number, but I thought you were going to go, no, there wasn't that many. I was going to say there was like 900 fucking people in there.
Because there were like a lot of people I remember that like wouldn't just get in. I remember like I would show up to a venue and it got to a point too where I would just shut my phone off because like 30, 40 people like, hey, can I get on your guest list and this and that? And I'm like, dude, come on, this is crazy. Like even like family, friends. But I think it was a combination of a lot of things. Like the scene had like a lot of violence attached to it because there was a lot of like angst or whatever. Like I'm not going to attach it to a genre thing or whatever. But just age group. You know, you're talking about 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, up to 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
And packed into a room like sardines with a bunch of loud electric guitars and ego.
Ego, testosterone, and like, you know, they probably haven't fucking beat it in a couple hours, so they're all fucking pent up.
You know what I mean? A combination of like ego, alcohol,
yeah.
You know, and then I feel like again, like those shows that never happen nowadays.
Not even close.
Of reasons. So that's how I don't even know if places like that will ever be open again. Which is why I was to your prior thing about saying like, kind of bringing it back. Or I don't even know if that's possible. Like not even just for that. Like I just don't know if venues like that could exist nowadays. If kids even wanted it to. Like if they weren't completely distracted by like electronic music or
right.
You know, mumble rap or auto-tune this or whatever. I just think back then it was a different time. Like it was a very popular resurging time for rock and roll music. And it was very unknown to a lot of promoters what was going to happen. Like if they'd have known it was about to be like people destroy their building and I don't know. I'm sure they might have said no.
Lupo's Heartbreak Hotel. I mean, I watch people punch holes in walls. I watch at the living room. Remember the rafter? People would hang fucking upside down from the rafter in the living room. There was a couch. Like, I'm pretty sure more than 90% of that stuff was flammable. And, you know, you know what I mean?
Too. I remember seeing the Blood Brothers there. And I remember Johnny, the singer of the Blood Brothers, wrapping his legs around the fireball, hanging upside down. And I just remember being like, damn, this is crazy. And then people just crawling over people. And I was like, this is crazy. There's no way this can just... Even then, I was like, there's no way this can just keep happening for like 6 years. Like, this is not sustainable, like, at all. So... That's
how I always felt about the ICC. So my favorite ICC... One of my favorite ICC memories, actually, was the Receiving End of Siren CD release show with Circa Survive for Between the Heart and the Synapse. That show will forever be cemented in my head as one of the best nights of my life. Like, from getting there, being able to get in because it was so last minute. I still have my copy of the original pressing of the CD. You know what I mean? Like, I held on to everything. Trios.
Oh, man, they're so good. They're still good. Like, I listen to them now, and I still am like... They're about to play another show, like in COVID, like a 10-year or something.
Dude, I had tickets to both shows. With Envy on the Coast, and my wife was so excited to see Trios for the first time ever.
But she's never seen them.
No. So it's a huge bummer for her. She got fucking robbed.
Yeah, amazing. I became friendly with their drummer, Andrew, like over the years, and he's like... Again, it's. I think we got really lucky. Like even bands like Trios, who to us, and I would assume therefore I am too.
Oh yeah.
Always seemed like they were like up here. You know what I mean? Like they never made us feel like that. Like you know.
No.
And that's I think what made it such like a tight knit scene or community or whatever. But man, I was so stoked for that show. Because of COVID, but I remember that show actually. Like I remember some epic shows there. Like I remember Paramore playing there, dude. Like Paramore.
I remember the ICC show with Paramore. I do.
I remember like Brand New playing there.
Mm-hmm.
Like shows that like stuff that you're just like that would never happen now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. Like even if you were to take a band on their level comparable to them now, like Paramore wasn't like the biggest thing in the world then, but they were maybe as big as like say Machine Gun Kelly would never play the ICC. You know what I'm saying? No. Like that would never happen now. So you're just like, yeah, I think some of those shows are really cherished because of how intimate they were, like how attached to the artist and the performance that you were versus that you would be now.
But think about it this way: we had Joe Clay. So we sort of had Machine Gun Kelly at those local shows via osmosis.
I'm going to send him just this clip. I'm going to send him the 10 seconds where you talk about him. And I'm going to send it to him.
He was the nicest fucking person in the world. Like every time you ran into him.
Dude, like he was also our tour manager. Like he tour managed the tour I was on with Vanna and the Jonah Vale. I want to say it was like the three of us on a tour. Like I swear it happened. Like I could have been on tour with both of those bands separately, but I'm pretty sure it was the same tour. I think the Jonah Vale met us up halfway. That's what happened. And he was tour managing, and it was like, he's one of my best friends for sure to this day. He's like my brother. Love him. But like, bro, tour manager was like, no joke.
Really?
Like, oh my God. Like you were late for load-in. Like, and like he may seem like a small, like lanky lad, but like no joke. Like, just on you, like you got to be loaded on time, got to be at check-in on time, sound check, load out, just like, yeah, dude. Everybody was scared of Joe Clay on that tour. It was gnarly.
That's fucking awesome.
Except for Evan. Maybe Evan and Brandon. Brandon
awesome.
Never cared about anything like that. Evan is a ninja, but everybody else was like, oh, holy shit, I don't get yelled at by Joe Clay.
That's awesome. He was always so nice. Like anytime you ran into him, he was just always like, hey, what's going on, man? How's everything going? And stuff like that. And like very quiet, very humble, you know what I mean? And then to see him be so successful in the music world is just, that makes me so fucking happy. Like I showed my wife the other day, I was like, look who he's working with. And she was like, no fucking way.
And he's worked with huge artists. Like I was again, like I grew to be like best friends with him, and I've gotten, he's worked with Logic a lot. I've met Logic because of that relationship.
He seems really nice.
Cool. He's so nice. He's such like a nice human being. But like because of that, like so he's worked with huge artists like Drake and so it's so cool. I think that's been one of the benefits too about just being in a band over the years, and even being in MOBCANDY now. Like you're always like connected some way, as long as you're in music, right? You're active in music.
Right.
Other musicians, people in the industry will be drawn to you. You'll network with them, and that always leads to these opportunities that are always intrinsic in value. Like it's not always about a listen or a play or a ticket sold or a new fan. Sometimes it's about like making a friend who
exactly
like, on like the guest list, and then you guys are just chilling, drinking a couple brews, and you're like, holy shit, I'm watching like KID and Logic play right now. This is so cool. So yeah,
that was always the funny part, especially when like Vanna first became really big, you know what I mean? So getting to see them live was like, you got this giddy feeling as like a kid in the local scene, you know what I mean? So it was one of those things where you're like, what do you want to do this Friday night? Oh, what are you thinking? I don't know. So you're not a sour person. I don't want to like disappoint you.
I mean to cut off your Vanna story. I love Vanna. They're amazing. Go listen to In Spirit.
Yes, definitely go listen to In Spirit.
They're amazing. Go listen to MOBCANDY. It's on Apple Music and Spotify. New record coming out. It'll be out in June this summer.
Perfect.
Go listen to it. But bigger question: what beer should I drink next?
So Soul Fight is hoppy but fruity hoppy, okay. And then Pulp Up the Jam is blueberry lemonade.
All right, done deal.
Thank you. Yep. Bingo.
Oh heck yeah, you have the same beer.
Yeah, I tried to. Little ASMR can open.
That's a nice double IPA, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. We're big fans of making it taste like there's fruit in it, but not actually having fruit in it, you know?
8.5% too.
Yeah, we like to make boozy boys.
I love it. I don't drink as much as I used to. I remember like back in the day, like before playing shows, I would have to be like buzzed. Like I would have to be. I remember like I couldn't, like almost like it would not be fun, which is so strange. I'm sure it was just a lot of it was like me being younger and having nerves and like, you know, now it's like, you know.
It wasn't being barefoot in a suit jacket. It wasn't that.
And I think that's why I was, because I was like, I got too and I was barefoot in a blazer, and people were like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I am drunk." Yeah, that's fine. But it's cool now. It's cool now to like appreciate it differently. Like with MOBCANDY, like when we're doing like rehearsals or we're doing like ready to play a show, we played like I think 3 shows or whatever, and then COVID just shut it down. But hopefully we'll be back to touring at the end of this year, next year. And now it's like cool because I'm like I never am buzzed, I'm never drunk. Maybe partially stoned, and then like it's such like a cool vibe to like feel it and hear it all and remember it. You know what I mean? And like structure it differently. I think that was part of it too. Like your personality definitely matches your music. I was younger, I was angsty, you know, depressed. Like
yeah, you can hear a lot of that, especially in your strumming.
Yeah,
that angry, punchy. Yeah.
And now it's like all smooth, like a relaxed, laid back, cool.
Oh yeah, MOBCANDY is like you're just gonna make sweet, sweet Pound Town. That's what I feel like. Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah, no, you could put this on, and even if you're not in the mood, you're gonna be like, "Oh, you're in the mood."
I like that. I like that. That's the vibe. And sometimes I think about that actually when I'm like writing. I'm like thinking about the emotion of the music by part. So I'll be like, "Oh, the music's like about this, and the vocal should be like." A 10-year-old boy trying to emote that feeling or whatever, like a child, like it's very from like an innocent childlike perspective.
I dig that.
Interesting you say that. Some of them too, especially like on the new record, like the new record is like vastly different. Like I the first record I like hated. I was like, I'm not playing guitar on this record, so it's a lot of keys. And then the second EP, the one that's out now, Neon Love, I was like, all right, I'll start playing guitar again. So it's like kind of half and half. And then this one is like full 70s rock.
Really?
Yeah, full like 70s rock.
So what was the change? What was?
I think I just started like not being resentful towards like being a guitarist or a certain instrument or a certain sound or being afraid to do something. I think I was just a lot more comfortable. Same thing with my bandmates too. Like we've been jamming now for 2 years, working on the 3rd EP. So we became a lot more used to each other and comfortable doing different things that we didn't feel like we were staying in our lane. And I don't want to step on your toes or you step on my toes. Like, and you play the keys and I don't play the keys. Now, like my bassist, my bassist will be like, oh, I think this would be a good vocal part. Or my guitarist will be like, I think this would be a good synth part. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So I have to be honest, MOBCANDY.
Sorry, you hear those drunk people in the background?
You can.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, it's okay. I can still hear you. It's cool.
Good.
So with MOBCANDY, the song that's currently playing, Davy Jones, it really reminds me of like the first.
You're playing a song right now?
Yeah. So your music's playing in the background on the live stream, so people can hear what music. Yeah, I try to get everyone to
it gets cooler every 7 minutes. It's so cool.
So Davy Jones really reminds me of the Deer Hunters' first album.
Another amazing band.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a huge Deer Hunter.
Christianzo is like, I think that's his last name, but Casey, who was in Anna Sirens, amazing writer. I have only listened to the first Deer Hunter record. I've heard the others are equivocally amazing. So that's a huge compliment because he is as a writer, as a guitarist, as a singer, as a producer,
as a luthier, as a
he's like the GOAT, right? You know what I mean? Scene GOAT, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's the man. So I appreciate that.
Do you want to hear something funny? I watched him at the Beachmont YMCA in the receiving end of Sirens, and he had a fucking ironing board for his laptop and keyboard. It was an ironing board.
I believe that.
And then I watched them play basketball against a band called Letter Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, the pop punk band Letter Day. And for some odd reason, the Receiving End of Sirens was like a bunch of fucking Michael Jordans. Like they were doing layups, they were doing
athletic dudes,
super athletic dudes.
Yeah. Andrew, their drummer, is like a soccer champion.
I noticed that, and Andrew's like been in a bunch of projects since the Receiving End of Sirens. It's really cool to see him do so much. He was in
some band. What was the name of that band?
Was it a Rocket to the Moon?
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry, I saw them. And
did you really with him in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I stood like next to him, like stage. I was stage left and looking at him. And they played with Take Back Sunday. It was in Hartford.
Oh shit, that's cool.
But actually, how I remember that. But yeah, and he's so good in every project that he's in. But I'm so sorry. I think I went off the rails with the question there. Spirit's starting to hit me. Backstep. What was the question?
So what I was talking, I was talking about.
Like, do people get buzzed on this?
You know, yeah, you can get buzzed on it. It's fine.
So, I mean, like, do you have people gotten like drunk on this, like on any of the interviews?
So I'll be honest. At the end of the In Spirit interview, I think that they definitely were. They did say they were buzzed on stream, but you could kind of tell. But when I was looking at their faces and stuff, I could see like smiles out of nowhere, and I'm like, we're not even talking. Like it was silence for a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm one of those people too that like if I know that you're pretty cocked, I'm not gonna continue the stream. I'll be abrupt and be like, well, that's all the time we have tonight, and so I wouldn't get anybody in a situation, I promise.
Sure.
But
that they hate Jimmy Eat World.
No, yeah. We'll put in. You know what we can do? We could just have clips where you don't. We'll put like "Peacock" over Jimmy Eat World or something like.
Right, bro. I don't care.
That's still so fucking crazy to me because, like, I remember meeting. Remember how we were talking about the Paramore show? I remember meeting Paramore at the ICC.
Super nice. Super down to earth.
So I didn't get a down to earth vibe. I got a really mean vibe.
Oh, really?
Maybe it was because I was so young. Maybe I was annoying. I don't know. But it wasn't like a very warm hello, you know what I mean? So that was like my only. I remember Lannon Fall, I think, played the show that they were on.
Oh my gosh, Ryan Mercedes! I forgot about.
Yes, he came over my house and brewed a beer with me during last summer, before the pandy. So, but 2 years ago.
Tell him I said hi.
Oh, he's such a nice fucking guy.
What a nice lad, yeah.
That whole band was so really, like, just very easy to get along with. We played with them so much in East Boston and things like that. You know what I mean? I never let Jay live it down when he had the fucking hair that used more Aquanet than anybody on Rent. You know what I mean? Like, or on Hairspray, the musical.
Everyone had some crazy hair.
I mean, the first Vanna photo is absolutely hysterical. You know what I mean?
Emo swoop too.
Oh yeah, I remember when you had your braids in Francine. And I was like, dude, he's got the coolest fucking hair.
I got the emo dreads. And some of them were blonde.
Yes.
Black. Now.
Oop, did I lose you?
Can you hear me?
There you are. There you are. You froze for a second.
Oh yeah. No,
Go ahead.
we're still here. Now it's just a bald head from MOBCANDY. Nothing crazy. When you see me rock out, the only thing you'll see flying around is sweat.
It's just sweat and spit into the microphone.
Oh yeah.
So, what are the biggest accomplishments you've had, past and present? Like, I know that MOBCANDY was just getting off the ground, and then the pandy hit, so we got fucked on that end. But when it comes to, let's say, Francine or any other project you've been involved in, what are the biggest accomplishments you've had? Like, have you gotten like praise from someone that you thought you would never hear from?
Every band like we ever played with, the fact that they said they liked our band. You know who like hit me the weirdest though, and you wouldn't think? We played a show with the Chariot.
Really?
Yeah, we played a show with the Chariot at the QVCC, and it was one of the few shows that we played that there was like barely anybody there. And the Chariot was headlining, and their singer Josh, I believe his name is Josh. Really nice lad. Like when you think about Southern charm, hospitality, warmth, they were so great. And he asked for a shirt. He came up to me after we played, and I was like, well, first, nobody's gonna like me, like this, not like our band here, because we're playing with the Chariot, and the Chariot is a heavy band. like screaming.
Heavy and ugly notes. Yeah, heavy and ugly notes. It was like that was the spin-off of Norma Jean at one point.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, super heavy. He also sang in Norma Jean. And I remember him coming up to me after he played and he said, "Man, I really like your band." And I was like, "Wow, man, thank you so much." And he's like, "Would it be okay if I wore your band shirt while we played?" Or no, he didn't say that. He said, "Would it be cool if I got one of your band shirts?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, of course." And that would have been enough for me. Mm-hmm. And then they start playing and he has our fucking shirt on, Francine. And I was in awe because she was so different, like musically to us, that for him to like actually appreciate me, which again, you can't judge a book by its cover because everyone's thinking like, "You sound like Coheed or you sound like Circa, you must love them." And I'm like, I know one Coheed song, maybe. And I'm like, it's really the Cardigans and really Billie Holiday. So like vice versa for him, who knows? Like he might have been listening to like Seal. I don't know. Probably doesn't. Seal's the shit. But
Seal is the shit.
That was one band that really got me. And I would say the other time that I was really like, I'd say kind of, I don't know what the word is, like kind of like
humbled.
Holy shit. Yeah, like holy shit, I can't believe you know I'm alive would be the As Tall as Lions show. Like the fact that like I got to sing on stage with them, I was like, this is like, because I had listened to that song like and listened to that band so many times, like that it was like they weren't real, and then for that moment to be real was like unreal. Do you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, Josh from the Chariot, dude. I know it sounds so weird. Like you'd think like I played with so many bands, even Circa. I played with so many bands. I played with Circa, like, and I've gotten nice words or whatever. But I was like, whatever, cool. Like, but like, man, Josh from the Chariot in a room with like 20 people. You know, it was like he saw me and he saw it was real, and he's like, "You're good." And then he's doing his thing and he's got the shirt on. I was like, "Yo, this is unreal!" Like, holy shit! The singer of Norma Jean and the Chariot likes my band. It's like weird, just weirded me out.
That's
I
really
recently
fucking
got
cool.
that same feeling with MOBCANDY. The drummer of Bad Rabbits.
Are they straight edge Bad Rabbits?
I don't know. I don't think
I would love to interview them because my god, I listen to them weekly.
Yeah, you should interview their singer, Dua. I'm really good friends with Dua, their singer.
I would love to.
We have a lot of soccer banter together. It's going to turn into a half political argument, which is awesome. But yeah, they're so cool. And their drummer, I'm not really close buddies with. I met him a few times, but he had reached out to me about MOBCANDY, and that was a cool moment because I've listened to Bad Rabbits when I've been getting tattooed, and before I was ever friends with Dua, I was a super big fan of that band. So to like get a with them about MOBCANDY, I was like, "What? You know who I am? Like, I'm alive to you? Like, gnarly! Like, so cool." So that's been a couple different people I've been starstruck. Probably the only times I've been starstruck.
I had talked about it with In Spirit, but I had appreciated the diversity in the local scene. I don't know if you remember the band like Hive Smasher. You know, Aaron was the Asian front man, and then like, you know, Brandon Davis was the fucking backflip, side flip, any flip dude that was in Therefore I Am. And like, I liked to see diversity amongst the community, because if you looked at it, I looked at it in this way that like, I didn't see any of the bullshit that we're dealing with today. So when we were in the local scene, we all just sort of melded together and didn't talk about anything other than like, how are you? How's your day going? So it came to be our, what people call nowadays, like sort of safe space, if you will. Does that make sense? Fair. You know what I mean? So meeting people and getting different views, such as yours, or let's say Sean Marquis, or Matt Morin from Narrowcast, or it's great to get all these minds together to know and feel what you feel and what you think about art and music and the direction that it should go going forward. Like, my idea is that if this does take off, I would like to donate more to things that I appreciate and communities that I appreciate or want to sponsor, you know what I mean? So What are some things that like you would want to see with small business support and community support? Because I feel like without the local scene, we don't have that anymore for teenage youth and even people in their 20s. Like, we know people probably that didn't get introduced to the music scene till their 20s.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that, like, and it's an interesting question, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how much bearing, and maybe I'm like underselling it, but like, I don't know how much bearing I have on like affecting, which is like strange because obviously the only reason we're having this conversation is because of something I did like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever.
You made a fucking change. You can make a change.
I guess you never really think like that. You never
exactly.
Like, you know, just like I'm sure, like, I don't know if Noel Gallagher ever thought like, oh yeah, I'm some random kid from Trinidad is going to play guitar at 14 only because of me and it will change the course of his life. So like,
or the people around his life, or the people around your life.
Yeah, exactly. Like the effect that it's had on other people and, you know, on and on and on, the butterfly effect. So like, I don't know. My only hope is that like it continues to have that like butterfly effect. Like, I think that like if a kid can like, especially like you said, like from a diversity standpoint, like I hope some other kid like who doesn't feel like they're necessarily like cool or who doesn't feel like
they fit in
or who doesn't think they look the way that the other person looks or sound like the other band sounds like or whatever. I hope they can pick up or doesn't have like the most like you know, expensive equipment or it's some like cheap $85 guitar their mom bought them like I had. I hope they like they see that intrinsically. They're like, oh yeah, I can still do something really cool, because that always translates into something else. And like when somebody gets a dream, right, that's like the cool thing about implanting the idea into somebody's head that like it's achievable, because then everything sorts of becomes achievable, and that might like translate over to like you said, like something like small business. So that the people that didn't maybe become a platinum selling musician or world touring artist, they might become like, you know, a brewmaster, or they might become a doctor, or they might become the owner of a, you know, consulting agency. You don't know.
Exactly.
So I hope that it continues to have that effect. Like, I hope that the longer I'm in music, the more people I meet and network with, I hope that ripple effect keeps happening, because it's the only reason I'm in it and I'm happy and I've been successful in my life or in music in general, is because like at some point I was like, you know what, it might be kind of crazy, but I'm going to go for it. I think I could do it and try. So
I remember you did an interview when you were in Francine. I think it was like Last FM or like one of those. It was one of those things. It was like an online journal thing. See, this is why I do this podcast, because I read and remember shit.
I don't remember that until you said it. I was like, oh yeah, I did do that, didn't I? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Last FM.
But yeah. Pure Volume, Last FM, yes. Things like that. You know what I mean?
I forgot about that site. Wow.
That's how I found most of you guys. To be 100% honest, if it wasn't for Pure Volume, I don't think I would have found nearly as many as you. Like, I wouldn't have found the offshoots of bands. I would have never known that Therefore I Am who I liked, because I was like, they have a kid in the band that's doing fucking backflips like Story of the Year, who is Brandon Davis, and then all of a sudden I found out he wasn't in that band anymore, and then he was in Vanna. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, he fucking drums.
Story of the Year, by the way, is like such a cool band. I saw them play at Lupo's in Rhode Island.
I remember that venue.
Until the Day I Die came out. They toured the year that song was blowing up, and I remember meeting their guitarist when he was eating pizza outside the venue, and I remember singing Until the Day I Die, and I remember him looking at me dead serious. I'll never forget this. This was probably one of the other moments, but it was like inverse, right? So like the singer of the Chariot, Josh, being like, oh holy shit, and wearing my t-shirt, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so inversely, I was singing Until the Day I Die on the street while he was eating a piece of pizza after the show, and it was just gnarly, because he was like, wait, you know this song? And I was like, yeah dude, of course I know this song, like it's everywhere, it's all over the radio. And he's like, whoa. And I remember him having that moment and me being like, just what? Like, of course I've seen your video 1,000 times, and yeah, but it's like always somebody that gives you that perspective, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I just have to give that story to your show.
No, that's okay. That's like, do you remember Too Late the Hero?
No.
No? It was Kevin Billingsley.
Protest the Hero, right?
I remember Protest the Hero. Yes, I remember them.
The Hero, yeah.
So there was a band, Too Late the Hero. They were from Maine, and Kevin Billingsley is still really close with like Nick Adams and Sean Marquis, and he was the guitarist in Too Late the Hero. But I'll never forget going on demand on Comcast. I don't know if you remember, like, there were music videos you could like pull up on the on demand section.
Do that too.
Say fucking
one for her on demand. I'm not gonna lie.
What was that?
I dated a girl once for her on demand.
That'd be a really good song name. That sounds like old school scene starting. Like,
I dated a girl once for her on demand.
Exactly. I dated a girl once for her on demand. Do you know how many people would not get that reference? They'd be like, what the fuck is on demand?
On demand, yeah. You have to like modernize it and change it to like Netflix. I dated a girl once for her Netflix.
For her Netflix login. There you go.
That would be probably the more modern version of that. It's so funny.
But I remember being at band practice when I was in 13 Yards to Victory, and we were like, we should make a music video. Like, we could probably do it if we figured it out ourselves, blah, blah, blah. And we're going through music videos, and Too Late the Hero was on demand. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? A band from Maine that we've played with a bunch of times is on demand? So there were a lot of local bands. Pirouette by A Loss for Words ended up on there at one point. Okay. Oh, dude, it was so strange. It was so strange. But I'll never forget feeling a sense of pride knowing that even though I may only know that band or a small population of people, I got to play with them. So it was the same feeling with you guys, with Vanna, things like that. So it was like, the hometown heroes are still considered the hometown heroes. It hasn't changed. Yeah. And it's like heroes like 4 years strong. Like, people like that, or Therefore I Am, or The Receiving End of Sirens. You know what I mean? Boys Like Girls. I don't know anything about them, but I know that they came from our area.
I got kicked out of a party once. I'm not gonna
get the fuck out of here.
Go into it, but I was at a party where one of the members of Boys Like Girls, it was in his home, not gonna name who it was, and I was kicked out of that party once for starting a fight with somebody else in a band who I won't also mention. It was a wild time. I used to be a little wily.
I remember you being wily because I remember you saying things like, oh, we can talk about or settle this right now, or like being in the middle of a conversation with you and you just being like, oh, hold on one second. We can talk about this right now or we can handle it right now. It's up to you. I mean, we can go outside. And I'd be like,
let's be real.
He's a serious guy. Like, he means business. Now, over this pandemic, has music sort of been that relief or release for you? I mean, have you been able to write? Has your writing reflected what's going on? That sort of thing? Or are you just, do you use it as that fucking, this is my special place I go to so I can get away from everything else?
You know what, like, writing for me is very emotive, but like, the pandemic hasn't like made like any special, like, it hasn't like come out of my music in that sense. The cool thing about the pandemic is that it's like siloed me into having to do nothing else but write. Like typically we go through a cycle in being in a band, like you're touring, then you're writing, then you're recording, then you're touring, then you're writing, then you're recording. Like,
yeah.
And sometimes that switches, but typically those are the cycles that you're in. But because we can't tour or play any shows at all, we're really only writing or we're recording or rehearsing. And the rehearsing ends up turning into writing anyways, because there's only so many times you can play your own music before, like, I don't want to say you get bored of it, but like, you've perfected playing the song live and you're doing like nuanced stuff and your special stuff, but like, it's forced me to write more, which is cool. But I would say that's the good byproduct. But it hasn't made me like, oh, I'm so sad because of the pandemic. Like, let me write a pandemic song. Like, that's not the thing. But it's given me the opportunity, and I've definitely utilized that to my advantage to just write a ton more. I think I've probably written, like, we're working on one record, 5 songs, but I mean, I've probably written, like, in the last year, maybe like 2 songs a month. Like songs.
Shit.
Where it's just like, yeah, like, where we could easily like right now, we're as soon as we're done with this record, the next record is we're starting it like immediately. We have the next like record. I don't want to say pretty much done, but like I could go into the studio tomorrow with the lads, and we can start like recording the next record. So, but nothing is really hinged on the pandemic. It's not like my life has been like crazy different. Because I've lucked out in terms of like a lot of the things that I like to do, I can still kind of do in that sense, like, you know what I mean? And it hasn't like made me sad to where I'm like, oh my gosh, like crying in a dark corner, wishing I could go outside and see the sun kind of a thing. I still have my family. I'm very blessed in that sense. I still work. I have the luxury of working from home. But yeah, just like writing a lot more. I think like sometimes as an artist too, like you get into a mode where like you love touring, you love playing shows, but you're so caught up in that cycle that like the writing part starts to suffer. At least for me, I've never been one of those people. Like I'm always envious of people that can like write on tour. I just can't do it. Like my brain has to be in like a certain focus or mode. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that I'd say it's helped in that sense. Just like purely writing like 2 songs a month, just because I'm like, but my themes, it's strange. Like I always write songs with like a theme. Like Davy Jones, like if you listen to Davy Jones, the theme is like somebody's drowning. They're on a pirate ship. They're getting walked off the plank. They're drowning to the depths of the sea. And that might like emulate spirituality for me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm not like, I didn't eat last week, so I'm hungry and I'm hungry. You know what I mean? I always have this like thought in my head, like this song is about this like theme, and then I write to the idea of putting myself into that world as if it were my reality and referencing things to me that are real. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that's how a good novel is written.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say like I've always had interest in writing. My mom's an author.
Really?
So yeah, like I always murder mysteries. I'll send it to you. But I've always had, like for me, I've always gone about music kind of almost like a film. Like I'm writing a script of a film, and then that just manifests itself into like a 3-minute and 15-second song.
I love concept songs. I feel like concept songs and concept albums don't get enough credit. I think that's also why Coheed and Cambria and the Deer Hunter.
Huge.
Yeah, and I didn't know this, but recently Mark Wahlberg purchased the fucking rights to do the movie for the Coheed and Cambria comic books and stuff. Yes, he purchased it like years ago.
That's gnarly, because I know that Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance, The Umbrella Academy.
Dude, that's
a huge hit.
So good.
So I could see that. I could see the Coheed series being a huge hit too. I think concept records are gnarly, but I think they just take sometimes like the record can get burnt out on the fact that it's adhering to a theme.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And few bands pull it off well, and they start to like force certain songs into the space to just finish a story. But like Coheed's one of those rare bands, the Deer Hunter too, that like they're writing to a theme, but like every song is just fire. You're just like, oh, this is a hit. This is a hit.
I really would like, so like I have been in contact with Max Tussaud of the Deer Hunter, so there is a chance that they may come on and do an interview with us. I'd probably be nervous the whole fucking, I'm nervous interviewing you and I know you, so it's one of those things. But like I would just like to know how someone like Casey's fucking brain works. You know what I mean? Like for me, it almost, so the Deer Hunter albums, you've only listened to the first one. It's based in like World War I, and then it just keeps going through that time period of like the plague and all this shit. And to me, it's almost like he grew up in that Charles Dickens period, but he didn't. He grew up in probably the 80s, 90s, 2000s, obviously. But I just always wonder, like, you know, you said the Davy Jones song, you fit this whole story into 3 minutes and 15 seconds. How do you go about writing a song like that? Do you start off with chords and notes that just you were fucking around with a scale and this is something that you came up with? Or do you set out with a goal of this is what I want a song to sound like? Because that is something that always never gets talked about. I remember being at band practice and then the guitarists just coming in with shit. And I'd be like, oh, okay, so this is the bass line I'm going to play to them. So, you know, root notes or whatever thing I could throw in. You know what I mean? Like, where does does that just, is it like it hits you in the head and you're like, oh?
Kind of like it's a eureka moment. I've never gone into a song and being like, I want the song to sound like this. I feel like if I ever did that, or the few times I've tried to do that, the songs always come out awful, like awfully.
Too
like,
bland.
I'm not good at like, I think it's probably the same reason why when I was younger and I was in Francine, we didn't make music that sounded like every other band or a lot of the bands that were doing breakdowns or heavier music. Because if I had tried to do it, it would have sucked for sure. So like oftentimes when I'm writing now, MOBCANDY songs are one of two things. They're a musical part that I'm just like stuck in. So like with Davey, it was like boom bap bam 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 bam, and it was like that, like in my head for 2 months. That's all I played, like over and over on a wall piano, like an actual piano. And I played in my living room till like 2 a.m. and like I just didn't know what it was. And then and I know like you will get a part for me. Sorry, I shouldn't say like you, because no, I'm sure other people write differently. But for me, what'll happen is I'll get a part and I'll know that part's good, but it's like a 5-second part or one bar or one measure, and I'll be like, damn, like, and then the longer I play it, and especially as I introduce it to the other lads, it starts to like you with your mate. He shows you a guitar part, you're like, oh, I know what the bass part is for that. And then all of a sudden, like organically, like the bam ba bam ba starts to like, you know, you gotta hear it all. Oh, body of the brain, push, and it starts to become this like feeling where it's just like, all right, this song is like sorrow, like it's a loss. So then it becomes like the words to me almost like freestyling. Like I'll be playing live on a new song and then it'll just start coming out, which is kind of cool. So it becomes like one small part. Sometimes it's a vocal, sometimes it's a keyboard part. For Davey, it was the keyboard part. I was like, yeah, this is a song, I know it. All I have is a ba ba ba, the intro. That's all I had. And then from that one part, it gets built on top of. And then it's like, okay, that's my verse. And then I'm like, okay, well, musically, I know my bridge is here. I want this to be dynamically up or down. And then from there, it's like my hook. I'm like, okay, then it's game over. Then everything else is just polish and shape. You know what I mean? At least that's how I do it. I don't know how other people do it, but.
Well, no. It's fascinating to hear you say that you had it in your head, and then you were playing it on this piano, and you know, you would hum the vocal pattern and things like that. But like, it's funny you say that because Davy Jones just came out on the playlist that I have for this episode. So yeah, that was like fucking really weird. It was like you had ESP.
Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean? But it's one of those things of like, all the songs from your first EP to Neon Lights is just like one of those things where it's like, I can tell now that you've said, I wanted to play keys on this, I don't want to play fucking guitar.
Oh, interesting. Like, that's cool.
So now that you've said it and that the playlist has gone through, so now that you've said that, I'm like, huh, that's really fascinating. So it goes back to that Deer Hunter thing, because Casey played fucking piano and keys on the first album, didn't touch a guitar, wrote a lot of the songs, but on the second album, he started playing third guitar, almost like Treos again.
Wow, I never knew that. Let's see, that's super cool. I wonder if he had the same thought, where he's just like, oh, I'm just sick of being a guitarist. Like, that's kind of was for me, like, and Neon Love, the second record. So the first record's a self.
Neon Love, I'm sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry at all. The second record's, it's okay. I'm gonna cast you in the same lot with Jimmy Eat World now. But the second record, like, it's interesting you say that, but it was a very like, even like the second record, it wasn't like I was trying. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to play guitar. Now I'll play guitar. It's just all of a sudden I found myself like fiddling with the guitar in the living room, and my guitarist Nick and we would find ourselves just playing guitar together. It wasn't like we were like, oh, let's write a guitar song. It was like very much like, hey, I have this part. And it'd be like the guitar part for some type of way, you know what I mean? Or whatever. So very organic. We never try to like do it on purpose. There's never like this crazy master plan and we're going to write this 70s song that sounds like Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood. And all of a sudden we're playing guitar and like, we're like, oh, we're using a Fender Rhodes. Okay, cool. Oh, we're using a B3 Hammond. Okay, we're using a Vox amp and a Fender semi-hollow Telecaster. I was like, okay, like this song sounds a lot like Fleetwood Mac. It's like that's kind of how it happens. Like it's very.
Oh, we lost Kayoum for a second. We'll have to reconnect with him. Hold on one second. We lost him.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently...
Oh, okay. So apparently he must have lost his internet connection, so we will hold out for a moment. So anybody that has paid attention or has been in during this interview, we greatly appreciate you for sticking around, and I apologize for the technical difficulty. I will continue to try and get Kayoum back on the line. This tends to happen to me.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently...
So maybe he had his laptop unplugged or something, but so what we've covered so far is pretty much how Kayoum came into the music scene, how he started from Francine in the local scene into morphing into sounds like funeral music, and then from there going into currently what you're hearing in the background is MOBCANDY. So if you could, make sure you follow at MOBCANDY_ over on Instagram. That would be greatly appreciated. Kayoum is extremely friendly, so if you do get to see MOBCANDY in the future play, here he is. Let's see if we can get him back up on the OBS stream.
Hey, I'm so sorry.
What happened? Did your there you are.
I'm so sorry. My laptop died.
Did it really?
It did, yeah.
That's okay, because we still got you up, so we didn't even have to stop. I filled in an improv and just talked about how to follow you on Instagram, how to follow you in general, and what the MOBCANDY is as well. So, seeing as we're coming towards the end of the interview here, what are some things that you would like to plug? What are some messages of positivity you would like to leave people with? And what are some things we should be in store of for MOBCANDY in the future?
My soon-to-be wife has a makeup Instagram. It's called Meredith's Face. I'm plugging that, so she can know that I'm repping the squad.
But how do you spell that there? It's Meredith.
Meredith's with an S. Face.
Face.
Did I get that right? She's around here somewhere. Meredith's Face. Yeah, if you follow me, you should see it on there. I think it's Meredith's Face. And yeah, like I really excited for this next record. Really excited for people to hear it. Go on Apple Music, go on to Spotify, follow MOBCANDY. The new record's going to be out in June. It's going to be called Light Skin. What else? Shows are coming back. We're playing a show in July in Providence. That'll be up on our Instagram page, which is MOBCANDY with an underscore. You can always follow me as well, Kayoum C, as in Cropper. So yeah, just excited for people to hear the new record. Excited for people to see shows again. Go listen to In Spirit; they're amazing. That's it. That's all I got. Be happy. Be patient.
Be kind.
Be an ever learning child, in the sense that you're always trying to learn something, and never underestimate the effect that you have on other people. That's what I'd say my positive message is, and just keep trying to do that. Keep trying to have a positive effect on other people.
And you know what, Kayoum? I appreciate that, and I appreciate you as a human being.
You, man. Thank you for these beers.
Anytime. I'm really glad to be able to share this with you. I can't wait till your t-shirt comes in so I could send that out to you. But please always stay in touch and keep me updated, because as someone who really enjoys music, I really enjoy what you produce. I really enjoy you as a person. I really enjoy you as a musician. So thank you again for coming on and doing this interview with me. It really means a lot to me. It really means a lot to the people in New England. And I hope that once things are back to normal, I can come see you play. I want more information on the July show in Providence because my wife and I would love to come down and hang out for the night.
You're on the list already.
Fucking thank you very much, my friend. You're the fucking best. But
thank you for having me. Thank you for the beer. I'm excited for my merch, and you keep in touch as well. And best of luck with all the show. We'll definitely see you, if not at the show in July, definitely at a show soon.
Definitely, and I would love to be able to take you and your wife out for dinner in the near future. So,
oh heck yeah,
let's definitely do that. And
I'm into it.
Much love and peace, bud. And I appreciate you, and you have a great night.
Much love, bro. Thanks for having me on the show.
And that was Bands, Brews, and BS. And have a great night, everybody.
Peace, brother.